Welcome to the How Did They Do It Real Estate Podcast. Have you ever wondered how people succeed in real estate and what steps they took to get there? If so, this podcast is for you. Your hosts, Sayla and Eileen Prack, interview top experts in the real estate community to share with you their real estate journey and how they achieved massive success. Our goal is to provide you with valuable real estate resources and to help you apply it to your own real estate goal. Welcome to today's episode of the How Did They Do It Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Eileen Prack. And today our guest is Jason Malabute. And I met Jason a little while ago through a mutual connection, and we've met in person. I've been to his wonderful meetups here in California as well. And he's focused in on multifamily and in real estate. And so, when I met him, he's a great personality, great person to be with. Loved his meetup. And I definitely wanted to bring him onto the podcast to share his journey, how he's been able to do what he's been doing, where his focus is. So Jason, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I am doing great, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Jason. So Jason, can you give us a little bit more insight into your background and how you got started with real estate?
Yeah, so I started off in 2015. I started off as a CPA, and then through me doing my clients' taxes, I discovered real estate investing, and I got bit by the real estate bug back in 2018. And in 2019, that's when I started actually buying properties in Indianapolis, Indiana. In 2020, I decided that I wanted to transition from single family to multifamily, so I had to learn about that business. So I started working with my mentor, Sterling White, which is somebody who has been a guest on your show before. And then in 2021, I started selling all my single family homes, quit my accounting job so that I could focus 100% on the multifamily side. And as you mentioned before, I also have a meetup here in Los Angeles.
So I want to dive in a little bit more too into your background because one, you had a very successful CPA job as well. And then two, you had bought single family outside of California in Indianapolis and then sold all of it off and then transitioned into multifamily. So one, I guess, how did you make that transition from going from a CPA into full-time real estate? And what were some of the challenges that you had to face when doing that?
So I have to be honest, that's something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I knew that for me to be great at what I'm doing, which is being a real estate investor, I need to focus 100% of my time. And as you know, Eileen, we are both Asians, and my mom was not happy with my decision to actually quit my CPA job so that I could focus 100% on the multifamily business. She said that I was taking too much of a risk and all that, but I knew that she will understand eventually, which she has now, and this is something that I have to do for myself because this is my life, and this is something that I'm very passionate about.
So when did you decide to start up your meetup?
So I thought about starting my meetup back in January or February of this year, and I was thinking about this, like starting from scratch, like I'm doing everything myself. And then I reached out to my mentor Sterling, and then he said, you should connect with Howard Chi, since he's also in Los Angeles, and that he runs a successful meetup himself. So I talked to Barrel. He gave me a whole bunch of good tips, and he said, "Listen, you have two choices. You could either start everything yourself, or you could start your own chapter of our organization, which is Multifamily Masters, and then you will have access to our database and our resources and all that." And I started thinking to myself, why should I like start everything from scratch when I can leverage this platform, and that's when I reached out to Dexter, and we first started our meetup virtually, um, just so that we could build up an audience, and then after two virtual meetups, we started doing in-person meetups, and we typically have anywhere between 30 to 50 people show up to our meetups.
Yeah. And if you're in the California area, I would definitely check it out. They have a pretty good group out over there.
I heard that we have a pretty interesting guest who's going to be our guest speaker for our next meetup.
Well, you got to find out who it is. You got to attend. So, Jason, when you decided actually from the real estate side and you decided to invest in Indianapolis, why didn't you start with California, and why did you choose Indianapolis as your market?
So that is a lovely question. So first of all, I love California. However, I don't really think it's a smart move to be investing in California because it's not very landlord friendly. And when you look at a market like Indianapolis, right? You look at population growth, it's steadily growing. You look at job income, that's growing. Job growth, that's always growing. And actually, if you look at like the previous three recessions, Indianapolis and Kansas City, they've always bounced back very strongly after each recession. And lastly, both markets have a very diverse economy. For example, Indianapolis has a strong tech presence. It has Eli Lilly, which is a big pharmaceutical company. They also have the Indiana Pacers and the Colts. So it has a very diverse economy. Because what you want to avoid is you don't want to invest in a market like Detroit, Michigan back in the 1970s, because when the automobile business left Detroit back in the 70s, the whole economy collapsed. So obviously, as a real estate investor, that's something that you don't want to put your money and your investors' money in.
What was the first thing that you did first after you made that transition into full-time real estate to start your multifamily chapter or the multifamily real estate investing chapter of your life?
Yeah, so first thing I had to do was get over limiting beliefs, right? So for example, right now, a lot of the good deals are going to be off-market deals. And for you to get off-market deals, that means that you need to pick up the phone and call owners yourself and build rapport. And when I first started to do local owners before I hired reps to do it for me, I had a limiting belief that due to my disability, I thought that people could not understand me, you know. However, after talking to about hundreds of owners and hundreds of brokers, I've realized that that limiting belief is all in my head, and people could understand me just fine. And for those one or two that had a problem understanding me, all I have to do is just repeat myself and talk more slowly, and that's how you get over that obstacle. And then another limiting belief that I had was was trusting people. For the longest time, I thought that I could do everything myself because I thought that when you bring on partners, people are going to take advantage of you. But what I realized is that if you want to go far, especially in this business, you cannot do it all by yourself. You need a team to do it, to actually work with you every single day.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, especially when we're getting into something new, we have a lot of limiting beliefs on ourselves. Mm-hmm. Even for me too, like when I started the podcast, it's like, well, how am I going to get the guests on? Or nobody's going to listen to me. I've never done a podcast before. And so for you, the limiting beliefs that you shared with us, how did you get over those? Like, what were some of the steps that you took to help you overcome those limiting beliefs?
So I would say the first step is to always acknowledge that it's uncomfortable. And then the next step is just to take a massive action anyway, because being stressed out about a limiting belief is not going to help you. So if you're scared about starting your own podcast, the best thing you can do is first acknowledge that you're scared about doing your podcast. And then the next step is just to do the first episode and start promoting it. And then you will see that you will actually get more support than hate.
It's almost like a muscle, right? You got to work out those little muscles over time. And so in the beginning, it's so hard, but after you do it multiple times, it's like, gets a little easier. The next one gets a little bit easier over time and over time.
Exactly.
So one of the things you mentioned was it's getting harder now, the real estate environment, it's getting harder now to find the deals that pencil out, finding those off-market deals. So for you, Jason, what are you looking for? How are you changing your strategy going forward in today's current environment?
So that's a good question, Eileen. So what I started doing recently is doing both off market and also going to brokers as well. So that means having a rep call the owner, setting up appointments with me, so that we can have relationships directly with owners, and then at the same time, I am underwriting every single deal that a broker lists online. I'm underwriting the deal even though it does not meet our criteria, so that the broker can see that we are serious buyers. Also, another thing that I've done is that I have I partnered up with a asset manager. She's been doing asset managing for 15 years, and she is able to review my underwriting and tell me, okay, are we being too conservative here, or are we not being conservative enough here? And then from there, we're able to become more competitive on our offers.
And are you still focusing in the Indianapolis market, or are you branching out to other different areas too?
So we focus only in Indianapolis and Kansas City, Missouri.
Got it. So Jason, what are some of the things that you had to set up as you were starting up your multifamily real estate business in terms of like some of the systems and everything like that? Since now you're your own boss, your own employee, you have to set up your own schedule and all the things that fall into place as part of being an entrepreneur.
I would say that the biggest thing that I did was to live and die by my Google Calendar. Having a strict schedule of when it's my work time, when are times that I could actually take phone calls, when do I go to the gym, and it's about doing the same things over and over again every single day, even when you don't feel like doing it, because in this business, when you are your own boss, you can't take any sick days, because if you take sick days, then you are allowing your competition to get ahead of you. So I would say that that's the biggest thing that I started doing when I started my own business. And number two is having SOPs, like having standard procedures for my staff and my partners could follow. That's another big takeaway.
And I have to also go back to the meetup as well. Would you go back and why did you decide to start up the meetup as another branch leg to your business as well?
So we have to remember that people do business with people that they know and people that they like. And it came to me that by me having a meetup, on top of me being featured on so many podcasts, it allows my exposure to get out there, and then people become familiar with my face, and people know that I know what I'm talking about. Oh, I have the experience, I have the relationships in this business. So that's why I started my own meetup, is to build more connections with like-minded people.
So what's next for you, Jason?
Get this next deal. I will not stop until I get this next deal. We are looking for an apartment building that has 8 to 99 units, 1960 to about 2002 built, in a BOC plus neighborhood in Indianapolis and Kansas City. And my ultimate goal is just to inspire people, if you have a dream, as long as you're willing to make the sacrifices and as long as you're willing to put the work in it, you could do whatever you want.
And Jason, how has real estate investing impacted your life?
Real estate has impacted my life because I still remember when I was a kid, right? Growing up with cerebral palsy, I remember like laying down in bed and having such a high confidence in myself. But like of course, like society has has a low expectation for me. And I remember like laying down in bed and like saying like, man, I wish that our society can see me like how I see myself. And it's starting to become that way. You know, people are starting to see me how I see myself through real estate, through entrepreneurship. So I love this business because I'm able to influence so many people, inspire so many people.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I love that, Jason, because you can really see it. Like you don't let, what people may consider as a disability, you don't let any of that hold you back. And then what really held you back was your own personal limiting beliefs and not taking those actions. And then you've been able to overcome that and be able to, do what you're doing now, get to where you're at now and live the dream that you envision for yourself.
Yes. Thank you so much for that, I think.
So, Jason, what is the one thing that you know about real estate that you wish you knew when you first started?
That is a hard question. I was not expecting that. I guess it would just be like how to underwrite deals properly. Because I remember when I was first trying to buy my first single family house rental, I remember being on the bigger pockets deal calculator, and I remember thinking, what are the ordinary expenses that a rental property has, and now I can basically remember that in my sleep, and that makes analyzing deals, whether it's a good deal or a bad deal, much easier.
Yeah, it's going back to the muscle and just like knowing your market and knowing what you're looking at. And then in the beginning, it's hard when you don't know what you're looking at, but the more you practice on it, the more of an expert you become in that market, that field.
Exactly.
So Jason, what is the one thing that sets successful people apart in real estate investing?
I think it's a couple of things. One is not giving up. I have a lot of colleagues who started their real estate journey in the same time as me, but a lot of them have given up because they could not find their first deal. And something that I always tell them is, look, it doesn't matter if you like them or you hate them, but Grant Cardone, it took him 3 years to find his first deal, and now he's worth $500 million. So it doesn't matter how long it takes you. All that matters is that you get to where you are trying to go.
Awesome. Well, Jason, if our listeners wanted to find out about you and what you're doing, where's the best place that they can go?
The best place to find me is www.jasonmalabute.com.
Jason, thank you so much for being here today, and I am looking forward to seeing you soon.
Yes, I'll see you soon, I think.
And thank you for listening to our podcast today, brought to you by Bonavest Capital. We would really appreciate it if you can go to iTunes right now and leave a rating and written review. Also, please don't forget to subscribe so you can always get the latest episodes. You can also connect with us on Facebook, How Did They Do It Real Estate. We'd love to hear your feedback and any topics that you're interested in for future episodes. Lastly, to learn more about us, you can go to bonifestcapital.com and fill out the Contact Us page so you can speak to us directly. Nothing on the show should be considered as specific personal advice. Please consult your legal, tax, and real estate professionals for individualized advice.